Díomh gach duine fáilte rascaí chlór an seo ar an Cluiche. Hello everyone, welcome back to another live show here on Cluiche. With me, Séamus, Brady, your host. And for this one, I'm joined by Jason Keelan from the Loaf of Bread Podcast. Jason, welcome back to the channel. I know you've just did an episode of Matthew. Are you ready for another one?
Oh yeah, why not? Yeah, it's great to be back. I'm looking forward to it.
Certainly. Well, if you haven't seen Matthew's episode, big shout out to him. Big shout out to the Gaelic Statsman. Definitely check out his weekend preview as well. And we got it all out in front of us. We got a big weekend. We got some crunch matches in the Provincial Hurling Championships. We got the All-Ireland group stages kicking off, and we got the Tailteann Cup round 2. So for a weekend that was fairly quiet a couple of weekends ago, we've really ramped up now in terms of how many games are actually on. And there is no game that is more talked about, certainly, I think, for this weekend than this one. Munster Senior Hurling Championship round 4. Tipperary will play Cork. It's at Sunday at 4 p.m. and the venue is Semple Stadium. So Cork saved themselves last week in what was one of the best games of hurling I've ever seen. Now they face Tipperary, and a lot of the players are saying that it will mean absolutely nothing if they do not win this game against Tipperary. Home comfort's no more. It's in Semple Stadium, and they're facing a Tipperary side who also need to save themselves. So this game is win or go home.
Yeah, pretty much. I was only saying to Matt there a while ago that I was chatting with my neighbour, Barry Kelly, the referee. I was trying to figure out where Tipperary are, because the team that I knew from years ago was gone, and they just seem very, I can't remember the word he used a while ago or the last while, but like just abject kind of disappointment. Just
they seem
something,
like they've forgotten who they are. Does that make
yeah.
sense?
Yeah, there's a disconnect there somewhere, because like they don't have a shortage of hurlers, they don't have a shortage of clubs, but there's a link or something missing. There's something just not quite right. They're very flat, very reliant on, like, even though we're saying, Jason Ford's free taking, like, and even that is still not high percentage either. So I don't know. They're a peculiar kind of team at the moment. They're not hitting the headlines. They're not really anything really at the moment. They're kind of just a team, and yeah, they could change all that against Cork. Fair enough, but it hasn't been great watching so far. Anyway.
Yeah, but Cork on the other hand, like, they're coming into this game off probably
Yeah.
one of the best performances they've ever given. Like, how much does home comforts play into that, in your opinion?
Oh, I like normally you would say, Semple Stadium, Fortress, all that kind of thing. I think Cork, as Matt was kind of alluding to as well, are look like they're going to bring a bigger crowd than Tip to this one. So when you're off the back of a big moral boosting win, it makes sense that your fans, even though Cork, to be fair, travel anyway, it makes sense that your fans will travel. You'll have the upper hand. Tip they look like a beaten horse already.
It feels like the Cork fans believe a lot more in their
Yeah.
team and Tipperary believe in theirs.
Yeah, and like Harnedy, Horgan, Barrett, like Fitzgibbon, there's nearly more, which hasn't happened in a long time for me anyway. There's nearly more core players that I would kind of go, oh yeah, I'd recognize him. He's definitely got potential. He's doing fine. Tip are just very, very, I don't know, nearly one-dimensional. Would that be fair? They're not. I don't know.
It doesn't feel like
what's
there's a few things that feel wrong. It feels like they don't know their best 15. It feels
Yeah,
like
definitely.
it feels like they don't know, apart from Jason Ford, who like their next top guy is. Jake Morris, in my opinion, isn't as consistent. He has the ability, no doubt, and he's already produced some amazing performances, but I feel like he's not as consistent as Ford. Centre half back, they haven't a clue who they're playing there. Every game is someone different. Brian O'Mara's in one game, Brian McGrath's in the next game. Then it's Willie Connors played a game there in the league. Then Ronan Maher moves out. Then he moves back into full back. Then Owen Connolly steps in at 6. It's like you need to, or Robert Byrne has done game time there as well. It's like you need to pick one and go with them, because centre half back is one of the most important positions in your team. And if you're constantly chopping and changing, like, you're not at the same level. You look around, I know that Cork were forced to put Rob Downey in there, but you look around at the other teams in Munster. When everybody's fit, the other 4 counties in Munster know who their 6 is. Waterford is the Burka, Clare is John Conlon, Cork is Kieran Royce when he's available, and Limerick is Declan Hannon. But Tip, they don't have a clue who their best 6 is. The reality is they need 2 Ronan Mars, 1 at 3 and 1 at 6, but they don't. So pick where you're going to put them. Personally, I would have always said Ronan Mars at 6, Michael Breen at 3. But haven't gone with that. And I think they need to sort it out before this game anyway.
But now is not the time to sort it out. Like, the time to sort this out was like 2 months ago. This is not the time to be trying to figure out where your best 3 and your best 6 are, or where to put them, or who they are, because if they lose this game, that's it. It's good night. Then you can figure out who they are for next year if you want. Like, Liam Cahill won't be figuring that out himself. It'll be someone else figuring it out by the sound of it. So, like, it's really, really, like, you can't really use the word unprofessional because they're amateur, but it smells like there's something missing. Like, and there was someone commented on Matt's one as well, saying, you know, who's going to mark Brian Hayes? And I was like, well, Brian Hayes is one. I said, but who's marking Harnedy, Horgan, Barrett, Fitzgibbon? Like, who's marking all these as well? Because I don't think, like you said, Tip don't have a notion of who their best 15 is. And that has to come back to somebody, and it's the people in charge. So that's nothing on the players. That's on the management, really. And that's bad form at this stage of the championship.
Yeah, it is. And like the thing is, I think Cork will win this game. I think Cork will win this game and pull themselves out, because I think now what you get when you have a spell where you are so unlucky, and let's be real, Cork were very unlucky not to win games. And against Limerick, they got that rub of the green. Kyle Hayes fouled, gave away the penalty. They got that little bit of rub of the green, and they got over the line. And that was the type of game that Cork over the last few years have lost. So, like, especially when Shamie Flanagan completed the hat-trick, I was sitting there thinking, that's it. Limerick are going to kick on and win this. And Cork found a way to get back in and win it. And the reality is when you then turn that and finally get over the line, I feel like there's a knock-on then where you feel like you're carrying so much momentum then. And I feel like they're rolling down the hill almost at this Tipperary team. I don't think Tip have anything to stop them. I actually think Cork will win this game more comfortably than they won the Tip game. I think it's not going to be as dramatic as the Limerick game, and I think Cork are going to win. What are you thinking?
Yeah, kind of similar, I suppose. It bothers me a little bit for a team that's always historically been competitive that Tip scored so little from play against Limerick. And this reliance on free taking, which, as Matt was even saying, it is not a high percentage either. Cork they're on a roll. They've got wind in their sails from the last day out, and I hope that they kick on from it, because, as you know, as entertaining as it is to the championships, Leinster and Munster have been a little bit kind of bizarre. At the same time, someone needs to take a bit of a grip on it, and it would be great to see Cork do it, because, you know, 2010 football and all that's a long time ago to be, you know, thinking back. And it ideally would be great for Munster hurling if somebody challenged along with Limerick, and it would be great to see Cork doing it. Plenty to choose from, so there's no reason they shouldn't. I think, same as you, that they'll win relatively comfortably. I hope it's not a bad game. I don't think that would be great, but I think they'll still win.
I think it will be a good game. I think Tipperary will give it a good rattle. I think if they were absolutely washed this year, I think they would have lost to Waterford. So there is something there. Jason Ford, like Noel McGrath, like Jake Morris, they still have brilliant hurlers. It's just a matter of getting them all motivated on that pitch at the same time. I think Cork, though, have more, and they have the momentum behind them right now. Like, Fitzgibbon was immense in the Limerick game. Horgan was fantastic. Séamus Harnedy, Shane Barrett, Rob Downey, like, these all played out of their skin. Patrick Collins as well was brilliant. His puck outs, I know the old Donahue one, everybody's going to focus on that, but look at the whole game. His puck outs are really, really good. And his last one set up Shane Kingston for his run, which ultimately yielded the penalty. Cork also have more to come off the bench. Shane Kingston changed the game when he came in. And how many times has he done that? They have other options to come in off the bench as well, Cork. And I truly believe that Tip don't have as good a panel as Cork anymore, which is crazy to think, like, when you look mid-2010s, that we would get to this stage. But I think that is the case. I think that Cork Yeah, Raymond Gilborn here. Wait, on Cork says that back Cork to win the All Ireland at 66-1 on Friday
Attaboy.
evening before they beat Limerick.
Oh,
That
you're
could
right.
wouldn't be a bad shout at this stage. And the reality is, as well, as I want competition in the All Ireland Hurling Championship. And if you're to put to me who are the two most likely teams to beat Limerick in a once-off semi-final or final, for me it's Clare and Cork. So I'm hoping that the two of them get out of the Munster Championship along with Limerick, so that it's as competitive as can possibly be. And I do think Cork will win this game. So we're both going for Cork. That's at 4 p.m. on Sunday. So that's the main event you'd imagine it will be shown. And then the Munster Senior Hurling Championship round 4, Clare against Waterford. So by the one at 4 o'clock, I'm obviously saying that one will be shown, I imagine, on RTE. I'm just going to check it on the Hogan stand, actually make absolute sure that it will be shown on RTE. But the Clare Waterford game also has huge connotations. Yeah, they're both on RTE. So this one is on before. So Clare Waterford on Sunday at 2 o'clock at Cusack Park in Ennis. This game also has huge connotations for both of these sides. And once again, it's the most fierce managerial rivalry in the game right now. Clare against Waterford equals Brian Lohan against Davy Fitzgerald. Another chapter in their personal rivalry. Expecting no less than absolute fireworks in this one.
Yeah, and I think everyone who's on TikTok or social media saw Davy geeing them up outside the last day, and this is our home and all that kind of crack. So, as I was kind of saying before, as well, Waterford are a little bit like the Cork footballers, that there seems to be names who've been there for eternity, it seems like, and maybe there's a need to kind of bring on, a bit like you were saying there about Cork having a better panel than Tip. That's completely true. Tip don't know why, but they're not bringing through these names to take over from Ford and all these, etc. Like, and as you said, Jake Morris, very good and very, very strong in spots, but not consistent. And Waterford, even though Davy was under a bit of pressure, they got the win over Cork and then draw with Tip, I think, wasn't it? And they're second in the table. So, but yet it could all come crashing down very quickly, and he could find himself, out the door very quickly. Like, it is the beauty of the championship that you think you're flying, and the next day suddenly you're out and your season's over. So Waterford, I do like. I think it's about time that they got back up a little bit. It's kind of seems like a long enough time now to be, complaining that you're not getting anywhere and that you're going backwards. But even still, we're debating with Matt as well. Would they eventually become the team that never gets out of Munster? And that would be very, very, they wouldn't like that in Waterford. It wouldn't sit well with them. It definitely won't sit well with Davey anyway, whether he's still there for much longer. And then for Clare, two kind of contrasting games to Waterford, like the loss to Limerick, fair enough, and then to beat Cork. I still have an awful love for Shade O'Donnell. I remember at the All Ireland in 2013 when he got that hat trick, and I just thought, this guy is class, and he's still flying, still going. They have a lot more threat than Waterford have, but the Davy factor plays into it a little bit. If he has them in that we're going to kill you mentality, then Waterford could turn up. It's a tricky one. I don't know what you think of it, but I think it's a tricky one to call.
I think personally it's a lot more straightforward. I'm being honest. Okay. Clare had the gun to their head. Brian Lohan has his rivalry with Davy Fitz. He's not going to let his players drop the ball, and it's in Cusack Park in Ennis. I think Clare win this. I genuinely think Waterford have made a statement under Davy by beating Cork in round 1, but they didn't get over the line against Tip in Walsh Park. Yes. This is a Tip side that is as bad as I've seen them in a long time. So, I think that the season under Colin Bonner, Tip really looked like they didn't believe in themselves at all. But apart from that, this year they look kind of similar to that, and yet they still got the draw against Waterford in Walsh Park, where Davy was clearly firing them up. So he fired them up, and it was at home, and they still didn't win. I don't see them going to Cusack Park and beating Clare. I'm sorry, I just don't.
Yeah, the Davy factor only goes so far, I suppose. And you have to actually do it in hurling then. And as I said, there's names that have been there for a while, and they can't last forever. So, yeah, Clare will have the firepower over them. They could, Clare potentially, end the game by half time. Waterford not going to be a team who are going to come back. If Waterford can stay in it, maybe they could, run them close at the end. It could be over in 20 minutes. It could go the distance. It's one of those games. But yeah, you probably are correct. When you come down to the brass tacks, as they say, Clare should outgun them relatively well.
I am going for Clare to win it, and that's so we've got an absolute feast of hurling on RT on the Sunday. Clare versus Waterford Sunday at 2:00, and then immediately followed by Cork and Tipperary. It's going to be a good feast. I will be sitting down as an absolute couch potato watching both of those games, no question whatsoever. Now, this game for me is huge. This next one, Leinster Senior Hurling Championship Round 4, Dublin against Kilkenny, Saturday at 6:00, and it's going to be in Parnell Park. I'm going to be there. It's the best opportunity we have had to beat Kilkenny in such a long time. Like, I genuinely mean it. From our record against Kilkenny over the last 2 years has been bad. Like, we've lost to Kilkenny in every single way that you possibly can. We've been hammered. We've lost by a point. We've had a huge lead and blown it. They've had a huge lead and we've pulled them back and nearly won. But Kilkenny drew with Carlow. And I know that, like, hurling math doesn't always add up. Of course, Kilkenny now have the fire under them that they need to get a result in this game to make sure they're placed in the Leinster final. But Dublin have actually been the most consistent team in the Leinster Championship so far. It's at Parnell Park. And the thing is that our two last games are Kilkenny at home and Galway away. If I'm Dublin, if I'm Micheál Donoghue, I'm thinking the time to bring the hammer down and make sure that we get into the provincial final is when we have home advantage. So I think Dublin will go all out to win this game. And I think it's going to be a tough away day for Kilkenny.
Yeah, I was just thinking as well, like, it's 2 draws for Kilkenny. Like, when was the last time Kilkenny went 3 games without a win, in championship? So I was kind of thinking back as well earlier on that, like, I was commentating in Abbottstown the day or two after Limerick had done a job on Dublin, and above my head in the room, Micheál Donoghue and the team were in there, and you could see them analysing the Limerick game, which lasted about 10 minutes. And then they spend the next hour taking their photos. And I was like, these boys don't particularly look like they care too much. And clearly there was something else going on, because they've been flying. And it's been great. Like, even, like, I lived in Dublin for a long time. And then I, went back home again. And there's a part of me that, wants to see Dublin football collapse. There's a part of me that doesn't. But to see the hurlers flying is brilliant. And I know that they do, Donald Burke is with the freeze is a big thing for them. But as a team, they just look like there's something different about them to previous years that maybe hasn't quite been there. And they're putting up decent scores and they're flying into tackles. And there's kind of I don't really care, about me.
There's something more of a 2013 kind of vibe off the team. Like, we're I think it's like we're big, like, we're physically big, like, especially around the middle, like Chris Crummy, Conor Burke, like, we're Ronan Hayes, like, we're big lads around the middle, and I feel like we're getting stuck into teams around the middle. Like, Conor Donoghue as well is another big fella. Like, we're flying into tackles around the middle, and against Antrim we dominated the Antrim puck out, and that really boxed them in. And the thing is that I always looked at Dublin and I said, look, because Matthew asked me a question. Matthew said, why do Dublin and Wexford always draw? But then Wexford are always able to up their level to beat a Kilkenny or to beat a Galway. But then Dublin are never able to do that. But then Wexford are always able to drop their level to lose to an Antrim or lose to Westmeath last year. But then Dublin never seemed to do that. So Matthew was saying, what is it? Why are Dublin? I was like, because I feel like we're solid in where we are. And I feel like we know where we are. And we never go above or below. It's like, Dublin are going to be 7 out of 10 most times. And if we run into a team that's an 8 out of 10, well, we're going to lose. Whereas Wexford fluctuate between being a 4 out of 10 and an 8 out of 10. So like, I think it's genuinely like, going into this game, we need to outperform the levels that we've done in the past to win this game. We need to do everything right to beat Kilkenny because they are going to play a lot better than they played against Carlow.
Yeah, and the Wexford thing is true. Like that kind of comparison, like Wexford could win the All Ireland this year, and next year they could be knocked out of Leinster straight away. And they
Yeah.
showed that, like, been 19 points up against us and somehow managing to lose, and they do kind of panic. So Dublin don't have that thing about them. I don't know what it is with Micheál Donoghue, and I do like as well that when he came in, he didn't chop everybody. He kept the lads who will bring the bit of experience, bit of leadership, who've been around long enough to be through the kind of crappy days and some good days as well. And he's bringing through the young lads as well, which is where, like, going back to Tip and stuff, I can't figure out where have all these, they haven't all emigrated, like, so there has to be some of them left in Tipperary. So, like, why is the same thing that happened there? Micheál Donoghue is just a really solid manager and seems to be very kind of no fuss, no bull about it all. I've done this with Galway. Here's how it works. You play it this way and you can beat anybody. And the mentality is the big thing. They look like the Dublin footballers going out, that they have the mentality of, you could be 10 points up against us, we're still going to come back and give you a rattle and probably beat you. And that's not been there with the hurlers, too often. Maybe 2013, fair enough, it was good. But it's certainly a lot more, I think a lot more teams are afraid of them, which is what they need. Dublin don't mind, obviously, being the non-underdogs as such, the favourite. So I think that suits them, and that Kilkenny are going to get a rattle, like, definitely at the very least.
There's no question. It's in Parnell Park. Parnell
Yeah.
Park is a white pitch. That game is going to be very physical. I'd imagine it will be sold out because genuinely I've spoken to a lot of Dubs who perked up after the Carlow game and perked up after the Antrim game on the same day. Like, really looked and was like, do you know what? Actually, we have a shot in this game.
Yeah.
Because Dublin's season, especially over the last 5 years, has been literally exactly the same. We'll beat Laois, Carlow, Westmeath, Antrim, whoever is in Leinster. Then we'll draw with Wexford and we'll lose to Galway and Kilkenny, and we'll either finish third and then lose to whoever comes out of Munster, or we'll go out in fourth place. That's been how our season has gone. It's been one step forward, one step back for the last few years now, that we find a player just as we lose a player. So we find Conor Burke, lose Liam Rush, find Donald Burke, lose Paul Ryan. We're never able to keep all the lads in the team together at the same time. This group of lads, I think, is a very good team. I think we've unearthed some really talented hurlers for the future as well this season, the likes of Dermot O'Dooling and players like that definitely have ability in the locker. Owen O'Donnell moving to 3 as well against Antrim. He looked rock solid there. Chris Crummy, Conor Burke around the middle, Donald Burke as well in the forwards. Keane O'Sullivan is dangerous in there as well. Like, do you know what? Part of me is saying, like, it's my heart against my head.
Don't say it.
I'll say it. I'll say it. If we're ever going to beat them, it's now. If we're ever going to beat them, it's now. I'm backing our lads to do it. I think a famous 1-point win. And I am expecting to be absolutely deluded when I look back on this on Monday and be like, what on earth was I thinking? Because I think Kilkenny will get a rocket up them by Derek Ling that, like, what the hell was that against Carlow?
Do you think that some of the things they did against Carlow that Cody would have accepted?
Absolutely not. That's the funniest thing is that I think one of the comments came in that said, what would have happened if Killian Doyle got the red card in his debut against Kilkenny? I'm like, but you wouldn't have seen him again.
Yep. Or what if someone else chucked the ball into the crowd to give away the...
Oh my God, mental.
It says a lot about the culture there, though, as well, with Kilkenny, that things have changed.
That's it.
More than we know.
That's going to question Derek Ling like never before. That, are you letting the standards slip? So I think they're going to need a bite back. I wouldn't be surprised at all if Kilkenny win. And, like, realistically, if I'm putting my life on who wins, I probably would nudge towards Kilkenny. But I'll be the gambling man, and I'll go Dublin, and I'll risk having egg on my face. What are you thinking for this one?
I'm a gambling man as well, generally, and I'm kind of in. There's a couple of games I've gone through earlier that I'm kind of hard versus head, but the more I've kind of talked about it with Matt and with you, I'm sort of picturing it in my head, like Dublin Parnell Park. I can kind of see it. I can see it happening.
Do you know what it reminds me a lot of? It reminds me. Do you remember the year that Pat Gilroy and Anthony Cunningham were the managers?
Oh yeah.
And Liam Blanchfield got that last minute goal. That broke my heart. that Kilkenny won by a point. And we were so good. Conor Keeney, I remember that day, was just amazing.
But I don't think there is a Liam Blanchfield moment in Kilkenny at this time around. Like, I can
Depends if
picture
they have the
Bernard
cavalry
Park.
back. If they have Owen Cody and Adrian Mullen, Michael Carey, if they have all them back.
Yeah, it's fair enough. It's a slightly different outfit, but like, you can kind of see, you can picture Parnell Park sitting in the stand. You can picture everything you've said. Like I'm gonna go. I'm gonna change my mind from earlier on. I'm gonna say Dublin as well.
Let's go.
As you said, if ever you're gonna do it, it has to be now. Like,
that's it.
Yeah.
If we don't do it this year, we're not going to do it for the next 10 years.
Yeah. There's a consistency in the Dublin team that just might get them past them this time.
Yeah, and the annoying thing is we have Kilkenny and Galway next in the next two games. And if we don't beat Kilkenny, if we lose to Kilkenny in this, and then we go away and we lose to Galway, then this year has just been like every single other year.
Yeah.
The last 5. So prove to us that we're making progress. Beat Kilkenny. Have them at home and they're rattled. Let's finish the job and beat them. Now, moving into these next 2 games, there are obvious favourites in them. Carlow Wexford at Dr. Cullen Park on Sunday at 3 p.m. And then Antrim versus Galway at Saturday at 2 p.m. in Corrigan Park. Now, there's 2 favourites for these, but we're going to start with what I think is the more questionable one. Carlow have Wexford in Dr. Cullen Park on Sunday at 3 o'clock. Wexford have Kilkenny after this game. And I said it would be the most Wexford thing in the world to lose this game and then beat Kilkenny on the final day. What do you think? Do you think Carlow can beat them?
There's a bit of a deja vu about this when last year we beat Wexford, then got hammered by Antrim, and Wexford beat Kilkenny on the last day and sent us down. So, look, Carlow against Kilkenny, it's so hard to describe what that was. Was it a Kilkenny dark day, as I saw a lot of Kilkenny fans writing on Twitter, or was it just a Carlow fight that we maybe hadn't seen in a long time? As we said about Wexford before, they can play 10 out of 10 or they can play 1 out of 10, and they can play 10 out of 10 for 50 minutes and then play 1 out of 10 for 20 minutes and end up killing themselves, which they did against us last year when they were so far gone. It was unbelievable. And if Lee Chin doesn't revive them or rescue them, nobody else is going to do it. So if Carlow can stay in the game for long enough, why not have Marty Kavanagh and Walsh and all them give it a go and see what happens? If they're out of it by half time, try and eke away at it and get back into it. You can't look past Wexford, really. Like, it should say Wexford easy win, but you know, teams are on form. Dublin are on form. Carlow have got the result of a lifetime. Hopefully they haven't been partying all week down in, you know, the Bagnall or wherever in Carlow. So, you know, like, I think I went for Wexford earlier on. Like,
I'm not going to change my mind this time. I'm going Wexford to win this. I just think, like, when you look at the Galway game, when Wexford won that 128 to 23 points, like, Wexford looked awesome in that game, and like they looked like, wow, like where on earth was this against Antrim? And the other thing as well is you have your warning. You've seen Kilkenny go down there. You've seen Kilkenny be 8 points clear at the beginning of the second half. But few minutes into the second half. If you don't win this game, it is all on you. It's all on you. This is not a shock now. You know what Carlow are about. You know what Carlow can bring to the table. The way the Carlow deputised Kevin MacDonald at 6, the way after the red card, was unbelievable. Like, they made full advantage of it. Chris Nolan's form, Marty Kavanagh, they were brilliant. I think Wexford will win this game. I think Rossiter will be absolutely emphasising we need to capitalise on Kilkenny's slip up. And we need to hope that a spot opens up for us in the Leinster final. And winning this game would be imperative to doing that. So I am going to go with Wexford to avoid the slip up and leave Dr. Cullen Park with a win. Bringing us on to the final Leinster game, Antrim against Galway, Saturday at 2 p.m. in Corrigan Park in Belfast. This one is a tricky one. Corrigan Park is always tricky for teams away, and Antrim got hammered against Dublin last week, so they're in need of a bite back. Last team to go up there was Wexford. Wexford lost. Wexford then beat Galway. Can Antrim beat Galway?
No, I don't think they can. It's kind of cunning for Antrim versus Mannion, Nyland, Concannon, Whelan, Lee, Glennon. It seems it's too much to ask for them. As bizarre and mad as Leinster Championship has been, this is only, even in the middle of the housing estate, I think this is still only going one way, and it's a Galway win, and it should be comfortable enough. It's probably a bigger picture thing for Galway. Like, Henry is out the door if he doesn't win Leinster at the very least. Probably won't be too many Galway people sad to see the back from when he goes. Not hugely popular, and Galway hurling fans in general not particularly fond of going to Salt Hill for games. That's not their hurling home. So there's a lot of changes needed in Galway hurling, starting with management soon enough, I would say. But for this one, they should stroll through Antrim, I would say.
Yeah, I think they're still going to win. I think Antrim have done really, really well, but I think Galway make a habit of actually putting the foot down in games that they should win. And I think Galway will win this game. I think Evan Nyland will score something like 14 points and Galway will win this game. Going to run through the action from the other competitions that is taking place in the hurling, and then we'll move on to the football. So the John McDonagh Cup round 4, we have Laois against Down on Saturday at 3 p.m. in O'Moore Park. We have Westmeath versus Meath on Saturday at 6 p.m. in Cusack Park, Mullingar. And then we have Offaly against Kerry on Sunday at 1 p.m. in O'Connor Park in Tullamore. I'll just get your word on this, Jason, just because your own county are involved, of course. These are playing against Meath at Cusack Park in Mullingar on Saturday at 6 p.m. It's a game that you really need to win.
Yeah, I was telling Matt earlier on, a few people have texted me asking how Joe Fortune reacted to my article a couple of weeks ago. The answer, not very well. It's probably the simple thing. I'm definitely not on his Christmas card list anymore anyway. So, yeah, I basically took slight dissatisfaction, we'll say, at a quote from his press conference after one of the games when we lost to Kerry, that basically said this is our level, and I strongly question that. We should not be in a relegation fight with Meath in the second tier of hurling. It's wrong on so many levels, and if we hadn't got that, if Jogger didn't get that equalising score against Down up in Ballycran the other week, we would be bottom of the league with Meath on points difference. So if someone is trying to say that this is the standard Westmeath are at, then I completely reject that. That is, we should not be in this position at all. We should not be playing Meath in a relegation game. We should be going out to beat Meath on Saturday for a place at the top of the table, or at least going into a final.
I thought you would be there. I thought you would be there.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of people outside Westmeath did. When we left Cusack Park last year, myself and most of the media crowd and the RT guys and all that were there as well. We sensed, and we kind of said it, that this team, if they keep playing like that under this kind of structure, are going to struggle to get out of the Joe McDonagh. And we all wish we were wrong. Sadly, we've been proven correct. Meath are literally the whipping boys of this tournament. So to have anything less than a comprehensive win on Saturday would be a failure in many ways, and we have to win. Simple as that. Laois will probably top the group by beating Down. We made Down look pretty decent the last day in Ballycran. They nearly beat us by a split second away from beating us. And Offaly are very, very strong as well. Kerry, it's great to see them improving. They shouldn't have been allowed to come to Mullingar and beat us so comfortably. That really, really annoyed me. The lack of effort and the flatness that was in, we've an all-star nominee in that team, and yet somehow we are fighting for relegation in the Joe McDonagh Cup. So there's something not right in the last 12 months that's just quite frustrated a lot of people. I decided to put it on paper, and yeah, it's raised some issues, which I don't mind. I couldn't care less if it does or not. So yeah, we should be better than where we are. It's disappointing that this is how our hurling campaign's going to end, but credit to Laois and Offaly, who have done pretty well and look like they're going to go on a bit further. Down, pretty decent. Kerry making strides. Hopefully they'll do well as time goes on too.
Yeah, no, I do. I think Offaly will beat Kerry. I think Hughes will beat Meath in Cusack Park. And I think Laois will beat Down in O'Moore Park. Laois have been the main team for me to watch in the John McDonough. They've been absolutely fantastic. And they've, in a way, like Laois have looked like they've gotten their mojo back. Moving through the other three competitions, then the Christy Ring round 5, we have London against Kildare on Saturday at 1 p.m. in Ruislip. We have Sligo against Derry on Saturday at 1 p.m. in Markievicz Park, and Tyrone versus Wicklow on Saturday at 1 p.m. in Carrickmore. Personally, I'm going for Kildare to beat London. I'm going for Sligo, actually, as an upset there to beat Derry. And I'll go with Tyrone to beat Wicklow, which then moving on to the Nicky Rackard Cup round 5. We have Louth against Donegal on Saturday at 2 p.m. in Dowdall's Hill. We have Armagh versus Monaghan on Saturday at 2 p.m. in the Athletic Grounds, and Roscommon versus Mayo on Saturday at 1 p.m. at Dr. Hyde Park. Donegal have stamped themselves as the team to watch in this competition. I'm going with them to beat Louth, even though it's in Dowdall's Hill. I'll go with Armagh to beat Monaghan at the Athletic Grounds. I'll go with Mayo to beat Roscommon, even though it is away from home in Dr. Hyde on Saturday as well. Bringing me on then to the Lorimar Cup. That has its round 5.
Did you go for Sligo against Derry in the Christy Ring?
I did indeed. That's my upset of the weekend.
Okay, I'll take that bet the opposite way then.
Fantastic.
Derry to win by about 25 points.
We'll hold that up. And then the Lorimar Cup round 5, Lancashire, Warwickshire. I'll go with Warwickshire to take that, even though it's in Port na Heron. Longford Fermanagh on Saturday at 1 p.m. I'll go with Fermanagh to win that one. Leitrim against Cavan on Saturday at 1 p.m. in Drumshanbo. I'm going with Cavan to take that one. So that is the Lorimar Cup, and that's the John McDonough Cup, Christy Ring Cup, and Nicky Rackard Cup, all having their next rounds this weekend. And that's us finished with the hurling. So we're going to move on from the small ball to the big ball. The All-Ireland Senior Football Championship group stages kick off this weekend. We have one game from all 4 groups taking place. No game is more looked forward to than this one. Galway against Derry in Group 1 on Saturday at 5:30 p.m. in Pearse Stadium. So Galway have the home advantage in this game. They are Connacht champions. Derry come into this game off the back of being the Allianz Division 1 League champions, but after losing badly to Donegal in the Ulster quarter-final. So Derry, the question is, as I put in my title, can Derry bounce back? It's a difficult away assignment. How do you see this one?
Well, I hope they keep the same kind of tactics they did against Donegal, or the neutral anyway, by bringing Oran Lynch out for the kickouts, because that makes for such entertainment. But what I was trying to argue earlier on was by saying that the problem is not with Oran Lynch coming out for the kick out. The problem is with the other guys around who step back when they don't win it. Like, they're essentially opening up the pitch for the opposition. But a couple of tweaks to that, and Derry might start to benefit from it again. I think Darragh O'Boyle will never have an easier couple of goals in his life than he did for Donegal that day. But Galway going good, ticking along. Shane Walsh, Finnerty, Damien Comer, they just need to keep lads fit. Try and keep the consistency going as much as they can. The card has been used to get out of jail against Sligo. They won't have that again. Derry probably disappointed, I would say, to only have had that one game so far since the league. Galway, 3 games now, ticking along a little bit. So probably better for Galway going into it. Overall, I think that, I said this already, I don't like putting him down because he's a great podcast guest and a great player, but Chrissy McCaig is kind of a little bit leggier maybe than was in the past. And although Derry have great like youth up front in Loughlin and all those kind of guys, that there's a bit more a bit more for someone like Walsh or Finnerty to get at the Derry defence a bit. And I think Galway might nick this one.
Interesting. I'm going with Derry to win this one. I think that Derry went toe-to-toe with Dublin and Croke Park. Like, they absolutely went toe-to-toe with Dublin. Dublin hit them with, more or less, I say 90% of what we've got. And Derry still won that game. And, like, it was one of the best games of Gaelic football that I have seen. Like, it was back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And they didn't become a terrible team overnight. And I think even though Galway won the Connacht Championship. I know it sounds even like kind of laughable, but I'm not that impressed with them. They still, to me, don't look as good as the team that reached the All-Ireland final a couple of years ago. They still look off that team. And I think Derry actually will beat them. Even though it's in Pearse Stadium, I think Derry will go there and Mickey Hart will be desperate to make a bite back. I personally think by Monday morning, we'll all be talking about Derry as All-Ireland contenders again. You mark my words. Because everybody lives in this world of absolutes, my friend. Everybody lives in a world where we're either going to win the All-Ireland or we're useless. And I think Derry, like, realistically, I'm not making them favourites for the All-Ireland. I still think Dublin are the team to beat. But, like, I think Derry is still a good side, and I think that they will beat Galway in this game. Moving then to the next game in Group 2's round 1, Mayo will play Cavan. So the side that was beaten in the Connacht final by Galway will face Cavan on Saturday at 5 p.m. at McHale Park in Castlebar. So Mayo had the home advantage for this one. But Cavan have proved a tricky assignment for a lot of teams. They beat Monaghan, of course, in the first round of the Ulster Championship. They stayed in Division 2 comfortably, threatened to go up from Division 2 for a while. Didn't turn out to be. Mayo had a comfortable campaign in Division 1 and then ultimately fell short to Galway in the Connacht final after beating Roscommon in the semi-final. Personally, I'm going with a Mayo winning this one. What are you thinking?
Yeah, it's kind of a no lynch, no party really for Cavan. His loss is immense, and I don't think even with like Faulkner and all them playing well, I think Mayo just have far too much. I think even the likes of Brickenden and Coyne and Callan in defence will just shut Cavan down as much as possible. And they've so many lads running from the back, and then you've O'Shea, O'Donoghue, etc., all to deal with as well. It's just too much for Cavan. Far too much.
Personally, I think the fact that Lynch is gone, like, that's the focal point of their attack.
Gone.
Eliminated. And I don't think that you can just replace that in 1 weekend. Like, he's such a monumental loss. So yeah, I'm going to go with Mayo to take this one. Then moving to Group 3. This one is the most even one out of the lot. Clare against Cork for me. Saturday, 6 p.m. in Cusack Park in Ennis. Like, I mean, this one is absolutely the one to watch if you want an even game of football across the weekend, because I think Clare, out of all the games, will have highlighted the Cork one as the one that they need to win. They very narrowly missed out on promotion from Division 3 and then reaching the Munster final, and they played well against Kerry, a lot better than they did last year. Cork, on the other hand, did play well against Kerry, got stuck into them right from the start and did stay up in Division 2. I think this is going to be a cracker, and I really actually don't know who I'm going for this one. I think probably Cork just about, but I don't know. It's really hard. I don't know, because I feel like Clare have done a job on Cork a lot over the last few years. Like, they beat them last year in the Munster Championship to reach the Munster final.
I think you're outvoted 3-1 on this one, because I think myself, Matt, and Aaron have all gone for Clare as far as I know.
Matthew's gone for Clare?
I think so. I could maybe mix it up another game, but I'm pretty sure he had said that he thought Clare would win. Double check with him, but I'm pretty sure he said that, yeah.
I still have to watch your episode of Matthew. I'll watch it when this is done.
You have 3 hours, yeah.
Saturday, I don't know.
I'm going with Clare. Do
you know what? I'll go with Clare. Yeah,
I've seen Clare play. They came to Mullingar in the league against us and looked very, very comfortable. Big guys around midfield. Bohannon is a great player. Icahn getting his goal against Kerry, was brilliant. Delighted for him. He was a fantastic player. They have a Westmeath man in Gavin Murray playing there as well, who transferred down from Moat a few years back for work and has managed to make the county team there. Dave Griffin, I'm trying to go the other players down, like a lot of good players. Cork, Matt was saying, I was kind of arguing that they're still very over-reliant on Brian Hurley, largest choice of clubs in Ireland, and yet still seems to be some of the same names coming around. But then he was saying, obviously, Chris O'Jones and a few others, starting to come through Corbett as well. So I still think though Clare will be quite buoyed by the Kerry performance, and obviously they're a team in transition, but are transitioning quick with a new manager and new players, and there's no reason they can't take Cork. So yeah, I'm still sticking with Clare.
Yeah, being honest, I chopped and changed about 6 times there between Clare and Cork. Because it would be the Cork mystery, wouldn't it, to stay in Division 2 and then to give Kerry a right good rattle and lose to Clare, but then maybe take something from Tyrone in that game. Like that is the Cork mystery over the last 5 years. It's so hard to predict what they're going to come with. I'll put a bit of faith in them. I think I'll go with Cork to take this.
I just asked Matt there if he picked Clare over Cork just to double check. So when I hear back, I'll let you know.
We'll hear back from him. Then we have, of course, in this game, Kerry against Monaghan in Group 4. Saturday at 3 p.m. in Fitzgerald Stadium in Kilkenny. Kerry against Monaghan. Personally, I actually think that this could be a play in this group. And this might be a bit of a hot take. But I think Monaghan, Louth and Meath are all going to look at the Kerry game and say, we're not going to win that one. Let's try and win our games elsewhere. So I don't anticipate Monaghan going hammer and tongs 100,000,000% to try and win this game.
No, I don't think it's helping. Like the begging stuff is probably really not helping matters either. You know, is he going? Is he staying? Is he going to the Panthers or wherever he's going? And then Kerry, not really firing on all cylinders yet, but comfortable in what they're doing. Happy to stroll through in second, third gear. Really like Joe O'Connor, that midfielder they have. Think he could be one for the future. Vinnie Corey will be very frustrated at the loss to Cavan. It'll have bugged him a little bit, especially to lose to Galligan, you know, in the other bench as well. So he'll be hoping for something, but I think all he's probably going to get is a hefty defeat, I would say, and Kerry maybe winning comfortably in third gear at the most, maybe.
Yeah, I'm going to say Kerry by 7. I think that Kerry will win this game, and they need to then remind people as well, like what they're capable of. Munster Championship, like I know that they won it, but they weren't very impressive on the way to doing so. I think maybe a bit of a statement display, especially in Kilkenny, is what's going to be what the doctor ordered, and I feel like Kerry will deliver upon that. And that brings an end to the weekend's group stage championship action.
Matt did pick Clare to pick Cork.
You did pick Clare. Interesting. Yeah. Then we move to the Tailteann Cup then. Group 1's round 2. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you the 2 games in one go. So we have Waterford against Kildare on Saturday at 5 p.m. in Dungarvan, and we have Longford against Leitrim on Sunday at 2:30 p.m. in Pearse Park in Longford. Now, the Waterford-Kildare game, I think, is pretty cut and dry. I think Kildare will win that game quite comfortably. Longford and Leitrim is the more difficult one, and whoever wins that is getting out of the group.
Yeah, my cousin has taken himself off the Longford panel this year. Just very, I think, chatting to some of the other lads who are in the Longford kind of set up quite flat. Paddy Christie is not flavour of the month from what I gather. I've told my uncle to stick his name in for the job for the crack and see what happens. Leitrim, as I said, like Andy Moran is not really making many headlines as we thought he might be. 2 not great teams, but this is their chance to shine in many ways. So I've gone for Leitrim earlier, and I think I'm going to stay with that. Longford just seems so flat. The Mullinachta lads, you know, just normally who bring a lot of the team on, just aren't really up to it. The Longford Senior Football Championship as well has thrown up a few very one-sided games as well. So, or the league, I mean, threw up a lot of one-sided games. So I'm going to stay with Leitrim for that one, and Kildare to beat Waterford handy.
Yeah, no, I think Kildare will beat Waterford handy enough. I'll go with Leitrim to shade the Longford game, given that like the Longford don't seem to be clicking under Christie, unfortunately, because he's a Dublin legend. I would have wished him all the best in that role, but the pedigree was there. Like, I mean, this is a guy who's absolutely smashed it with DCU and the Sigerson Cups and everything like that. Like, the pedigree was there, but it hasn't seemed to work out, funnily enough. But yeah, moving on to Group 2's round 2. We have Tipperary against Sligo on Saturday at 2 p.m. in Semple Stadium. I presume we're both going for Sligo to win that one.
Yep.
Yeah, I think Sligo will take that one. Then this one is the more difficult one to call. Wexford against Antrim in Wexford Park on Saturday at 4 p.m. This one, is a massive one. Absolutely massive game, because whoever wins this, I think, is going out in second place with Sligo.
Yeah, you'd have to fancy Wexford on a slightly better run, I would say, than Antrim at the moment. Again, two average enough teams. I
think
don't know if
they
either of them
both
will.
played well last week.
Yeah, but in general, kind of two average enough teams. I don't know if either of them will. I don't fancy either of them to be in the shake-up at the end of it all. But I think on the balance, Wexford should at home probably take this one.
Yeah, I'm going to go for Wexford. I think Antrim will probably be made favourites, but I was
Yeah.
impressed by what I saw from Wexford in the Sligo game. I think they showed a lot of attacking intent. Dylan Furlong and Glenn Malone with two lovely goals. Thought they definitely put it up to them, and I think maybe with home advantage they might be able to get over the line. And under John Hegarty, they're actually being consistent for once.
Yeah,
Group
there's a change.
threes, yeah, change. Group threes round 2. All eyes will be on Fermanagh to see if they can keep their run up. They go to Dr. Cullen Park to face off against Carlow. I think Fermanagh will take this one. Are you agreeing?
Yep. Yeah, definitely.
And
Yeah.
then Wicklow Laois on Sunday at 3 o'clock in Aughrim. That's more difficult to call. I think I'll shade it to Laois.
Really? Okay. I'm going to go the other way.
Interesting. Wicklow. So Wicklow get one vote, Laois get one vote. We'll see who comes out on top. Laois were confusing in that they failed to beat Carlow in O'Moore Park, but Wicklow were so bad against Fermanagh, and that it's difficult enough to know where they're coming at. They seem to be at a different level pretty much every time I watch them. Group 4 is round 2 then. We have London will play Down on Saturday at 6 p.m. in Ruislip. So a unique day for Down. I think that might be the first time in my knowledge anyway that they've actually gone to Ruislip to play against London. But I definitely haven't previewed Down versus London before. But Group 4 is round 2. I think Down will make it a successful trip anyway. I think they'll leave with the win. And then Limerick Offaly on Saturday at 3 p.m. in Rathkeel. At the start, I 100% would have gone Offaly, but by God, they were atrocious against London in round 1. I have no idea what to make of them. My mind says go a draw here because I don't know. I don't really know where either of them are at.
Yeah, I was saying to Matt, I was texting Michael Maher, the London manager, there during the week as well, having a chat with him. They're buzzing obviously after first championship winning over a decade, so it wasn't just a win; it was like an absolute smash against Offaly.
Yeah, they annihilated them.
Yeah, I didn't text Anton or any of the Offaly lads. I just didn't think it was a good idea to be poking the bear. But Limerick were good against Cork. They were level or just behind or whatever it was at half time in Munster. They have a few decent footballers. Offaly are low at the moment, and you don't want to be travelling across the country to be playing a match right after that. So I'm going to say that Limerick might just pull something out of the fire. London versus Down is very much a heart versus head of an awful soft spot for London. And I'd love to see them continue and do well and maybe sneak something out of this game, but you have to fancy Down with all their Ulster competitiveness and everything else that goes with it. They should have too much, even in London, even after a journey over. So I'll go Limerick and Down.
Interesting. Yeah, I'll go Offaly and Down. 2 away teams to take it. I'll change off the draw because that's not very likely, but we never know. What it will be a draw now that I've changed off it. But we finished with the Tailteann Cup. We're going to move on. We've 3 games left: the 2 LGFA provincial finals and the under-20 All-Ireland final. Give a little soundbite on that game as well. So starting with the Munster LGFA Senior Football Championship final, Cork against Kerry on Saturday at 4 p.m. in Mallow. Now, obviously, Cork had a really bad league. They've turned it around somewhat to make it to the Munster final. And Kerry, over the last 2 years, as good as they've been, they've reached the All-Ireland finals. They have had an issue with beating Cork. But I think this year there's no excuses. Kerry have to win this game, even though it's in Mallow. Kerry's form is a lot better than Cork's is right now.
Yeah, Cork losing a few of the girls as well and having to bring through like Abigail and some of the younger ones that they're bringing through as well. So like it looks like it could be a close game, but I would expect Louise Nimmer-Hurtig to probably score as much as Cork on her own. She could easily, outscore them. So Kerry to win very comfortably. I would say I'd be shocked if it was anything else. Even down in Cork, I think it's still a Kerry win.
I think the main thing I noticed with Cork in the Kerry game, particularly when they met in the league, is that they looked like none of them wanted to shoot apart from Katie Quirk. They looked like they were just trying to get the ball to her every single time they hit the attack. And the minute she got injured in the league, they just fell flat on their face. Like they won the Galway game because Katie Quirk won the Galway game for them. Then once she got injured, they've just lost every game in the league and then got relegated, which is something I never thought I would see the Cork LGFA team do. And then it was like watching Dublin get relegated in 2022. It was like reset your mind almost. It was like, what on earth has just happened there? Kerry, on the other hand, were a lot more
managerial, tactical thing too.
That's
managers' instruction of get the ball to Katie, like.
Yeah, that's it. And like there was a lot of like Cork had their two wing backs would cut in, they'd get chances to shoot, and they'd literally be turning backwards to hand pass it to Katie. It's like that is so predictable, and Cork need to come with something different. And then like Katie Quirk comes back, Cork win a couple of games, get into the Munster final. I still think they haven't closed the gap enough. And Kerry really impressed me in the league with some of their wins, particularly the one against Dublin and Parnell Park. I thought they looked really solid that night. And that was without Louise Nimmer-Hurtig in their side, without Chief Roche, without a lot of key players in their team. So I will go for Kerry to take this one. And then we're moving up north to the Ulster LGFA Senior Football Championship final. Armagh against Donegal on Sunday at 3:30 p.m. in Clones. Armagh are the LGFA Division 1 League champions, and they won that for the first time in their history. They have as good a team as we've seen them have for a long, long time. Amy Mackin is absolutely tearing it up. Caroline O'Hanlon is still going strong. Kelly Mallon is there. They've got Blaheen now is nearly on her way to full recovery. Armagh look good. Donegal, solid enough, but they weren't tearing up Division 2 like I thought they might. So I think Armagh have to be favourites in this one.
Yeah, 5-6 years ago probably would have been roles reversed. I would have said Donegal are definitely the strong team. I was saying, I've been very fortunate the past 6 months or so to be able to commentate on a lot of Queen's University games where quite a few of the Armagh girls and future stars would be as well. They're just so direct, so there's no messing with them. They just get the ball up to the forwards, and they've got running defenders as well. Like Armagh Kerry would be the ideal All-Ireland final. I think if you wanted, a proper match. Dublin obviously will have a bit to say about that as well, but I think Armagh, as I said, 5 years ago would have been the other way. I would have said Donegal all day long. Now it's very much Armagh to waltz through that one, I would say.
You think? I think Armagh will win by about 6 or 7 points. Are you kind of something similar along them lines?
Yeah, somewhere along that. They could blitz them with a few goals very early, and that could be it. And it could be 10, 12, 15, but I think 6 or 7 would be fair.
I think Amy Mackin hits about 2 goals as well. I think it's more or less every game. Like we've been waiting for Armagh to explode into life. I do think that they will be Ulster champions by the time the weekend is finished. Like, is this the year that Armagh can make the break? Because we've been waiting for them to smash through the glass ceiling for a while now. And like they were tipped by a lot of people to be what Meath ultimately went on and became.
Yeah, this is probably, if it's not this year, it's got to be next year. They still have the youth on their side, but when you're in that kind of mindset and you're in a final, and then you're going on further and further, and then you've got to restart again next year, it's not always as simple. So this is their chance, really. The only there's a couple of obstacles in their way, obviously, namely Dublin and Kerry mostly, but this is certainly going to be their chance, and there's no reason they can't take it. Like if they did get in a game against Dublin or Kerry, like it'd be an absolute shootout. It'd be like pure high scoring game, goals all over the place. Defenses will be non-existent. It would just be attack, and it's kind of what we want. But yeah, this is their chance to win it, really.
Certainly is. Like, I mean, I personally think Dublin are favourites. I think Dublin are right at the top. I think Kerry are probably like the number one contender. Like, if this was like a UFC thing, I think like Dublin are like the champ, Kerry are the number one contender, and Armagh are like that that UFC fighter that just has knockout power that can just catch someone. Like Armagh could catch one of them in a once-off game, as you were saying, in a shootout. So I think the champions is probably going to come from one of those three. I think Meath is the biggest disappointment for me. Like after watching the Leinster final, I couldn't believe how far off Meath were.
Yeah, they've really fallen back. And I remember when I'd Shauna and Vicky and some of the girls on the podcast, this is way back before they even won their All-Ireland originally, and there's just so much hope and expectation, and when they achieved it, it was brilliant, and then just kept flying, and then it's just like someone just pulled the plug on it. And I know Vicky
literally, it's like that. If you were to show 2017 and this is where they'll be in 2024, you wouldn't think that they'd win 2 All-Irelands in the middle of that.
It's like in The Simpsons, when Lisa shows the video of Ralph's heart breaking, and you can pinpoint the exact moment when his heart breaks. Well, there's somewhere in a video clip that says this is where Meath, collapsed, and it may have been Vicky going to Australia or joining the rugby, or
it's a lot of other players as well, because Vicky is obviously the main one, but there's a lot of other players who are very good who have just quietly stepped away. Like Orla Lally has just gone to Australia. Niamh O'Sullivan retired, Orla Duff retired, just like players that were very important in how they operated stepped away. And Vicky
Orla's such a tall, athletic player as well, like that you kind of need those people around, even around the midfield, just to get hold of the ball and set things going.
Dublin absolutely bossed the middle, like.
Yeah, she was just there's more in it. Obviously, the Vicky's kind of the headline one, I suppose. But there's a lot that's missing off that team, and it's just not gelling the same. And the reliance on Emma and a couple of others is not ideal. No team really needs that. And Dublin just annihilated them. And some of the subs didn't even get a run for Dublin, which I thought they might. It was that far. Aisling Nyan didn't get on. Sorry, Aisling, if you're listening. I thought you might have got a game at Croke Park, but you didn't. But Dublin were just so ruthless as well, which they have to be. They want to win the All-Ireland. So, Meath are our enemies, regardless how you look at it, and that's the way it is.
Yeah, well, in this moment in time, I'm confident in saying that Dublin, Kerry, Armagh, I think it's going to come from one of the three of them. And then just a word before we wrap the episode up on the All-Ireland Under-20 Football Championship final. Tyrone against Kerry on Sunday at 1 o'clock in O'Moore Park in Portlaoise. So Tyrone and Kerry both had two very different All-Ireland semi-finals. Tyrone answered everything that Roscommon threw at them in the semi-final. Of course, Shane McGinley got the immediate goal for Roscommon. Bobby Nugent got one and Conor Dolan got one very quickly after half-time. And then, of course, Tyrone just fought back. Owen McElhone absolutely to the fore. Shea O'Hare got a goal as well. Like, Tyrone just had answers for anything that Roscommon threw at them. Kerry, on the other hand, shaded an absolute arm wrestle against Meath in the other semi-final, where Kerry did miss a lot of goal chances. Me personally, I think Tyrone are favourites to take this one.
Oh, yeah. Are you talking about this game, or is it the B final for Westmeath? And do you want to talk about... Oh, it's the A final. Sorry. Okay, no, that's all right. Look, Owen McElhone, Matt, I know, has all the stats of... He's got 5'11" from play, all the different stats of all the different scores. The thing I was kind of looking at when I was looking back on their games, it always struck me the spray of scores around the pitch. So the fewest they had in a game was 7 scores. And in one game, they had 14 scores, which is outrageous. And their average is 3-14 a game, Matt was saying. Like, who in any, GA outfit is hitting an average of 3-14 a game? That's absolutely ridiculous. So, Owen McElhone, if the breakthrough comes in the senior and he lines up with, a Canavan or whoever it might be, that's going to be a cracking forward line for the future. At the moment, he is going to probably drag Tyrone past Kerry. I won't say easy, but they'll certainly win well, I would say.
Yeah, no, I think Tyrone will be All-Ireland Under-20 football champions. I think by the time that this weekend is finished, Sunday at 1 o'clock in O'Moore Park, Yeah, I think Toronto football.
Westmeath will be the B champions as well
Yeah,
on Saturday evening.
We'll say that.
Yeah.
100%. Westmeath will be the B champions at under 20 level. We'll say
Yeah.
that with confidence. I don't doubt you, Jason. We'll go with
Yeah.
that. So yeah, that is the episode finished. 1 hour and 5 minutes in the book. Thank you so much to anybody who has tuned in. Thank you so much to anybody who has put a comment in as well. My name is Séamus Brady. I was joined by Jason Keelan for this episode. Thank you so much to everybody that tuned in. Enjoy the weekend's action, and we'll see you on Sunday evening for the weekend review. Until the next one, ta-ra.